Hey friends, welcome back to Scarlett Shadow Notes, your little corner of the dark where we explore the shadows that we carry, the ones we hide, and the ones the world throws at us. No judgment here, just curiosity, honesty, and as always, maybe a touch of sass. So today I want to wander into something that's been lingering in my mind, like a half-forgotten dream. Noticing when someone that you once looked up to, maybe even someone that you had a small crush on, someone whose ideas or examples shaped you in a moment of your life, hasn't grown. They haven't evolved. They have stayed exactly where they were, while you've been quietly, or not so quietly, transforming, questioning, stretching, and becoming someone that you didn't even know that you could be. And here's the twist. Seeing their stagnation isn't just about them. It's a mirror. A shadow that reflects our own journey, our own choices, and sometimes even the courage that it takes to move forward when others refuse to. Today, we'll wander through this dark mirror together, exploring what it means, what it teaches, and maybe, just maybe, how to carry on without bitterness while still honoring our own growth. Now, before we dive in, I have a quick apology. If you hear background chaos, it's the dogs. I had to feed them a little earlier than normal to distract them because apparently they were hosting a little doggy fight club right behind me. The racket was impressive. And yet every time I turned around, they were just staring at me like, "What, Mom? We're innocent." So if you hear some muffled barks, dramatic sighs, some chomping, you're not imagining it. Just welcome to my life. Once again, I'm so sorry, but I promise to be real with you. Okay, so first things first, I really, really want to be clear before we go any further in this episode. This isn't about pointing fingers, calling anyone out, or shaming. It's simply about reflection. It's about sitting quietly, or maybe not so quietly, with the shadows that appear when we confront the truth of ourselves and the world around us. So a few days ago, I was scrolling through Facebook, mostly out of habit. You know how it is. You scroll, you glance at a few posts, you laugh at a meme, and then one post stops you. It wasn't anything dramatic. No big announcement, no scandal, just a thought that they shared. A comment, something small that landed in my feed. But it landed. And in that landing, I felt it. A quiet, sinking realization. It was from someone that I really admired years ago. Maybe even, like I said in the intro, had a small teensy tiny crush. Back then, let's just say we were on similar paths. I looked up to them. I listened to what they said. I watched how they moved through the world. They had a certain energy that felt inspiring. Like the kind of person whose perspective that you want to absorb just by being nearby. And I did. I learned a lot. Sometimes without even realizing I was learning. Their words, their choices, their presence, they shaped some of my own decisions. But this post, it was like stepping into a time machine that I didn't ask for. It was the same tone, the same ideas, the same patterns of thinking I remembered from all those years ago. Nothing had shifted. Nothing had grown. And in that moment, I had a very human reaction, a pang of disappointment, a little ache in my chest. And I realized they haven't moved. They hadn't evolved in the ways that I quietly or loudly hoped that they would. Maybe I thought somewhere deep down that life would do that for them automatically. That the experiences we accumulate and the time that we spend living would nudge us toward growth. But no, not always. And sometimes people stay exactly where they are. It stung, I'll admit it. A little sharp, a little like a shadow brushing against your skin when you weren't expecting it. And here's the strange thing. Even though I admired them, even though I wanted to celebrate them, a small part of me mourned. I mourned the potential I saw that never came to be. I mourned the version of them that could have evolved alongside of me, grown with me, changed with me. I kept scrolling through their timeline, and it was revealing. I saw repeated posts, repeated arguments, repeated ideas, patterns I'd recognized years ago. And I noticed something else too. How familiar this pattern is in the world around us. How many people cling to versions of themselves that no longer serve them, that maybe never did. We all have someone like that in our lives. And sometimes it just takes a simple Facebook post or any small interaction to smack you in the face with that reality. And as I sat with it, I started thinking about myself. Where was I when I first admired them? How have I changed since then? How have I stumbled? How have I learned? And how have I grown? That reflection is the gift hidden in the disappointment. Because yes, it stings, but it also reminds us that growth is real, tangible, and ours to claim. It's a strange mix of emotions. Nostalgia for what I once felt, disappointment for what I wished they would become, and a quiet, maybe even sneaky pride in the fact that I am moving, that I am evolving, that I am claiming growth for myself, even when others refuse to claim it for themselves. And then I started noticing the little details, the things that I remembered about them, the way they used to smile, the energy that they had when we first met, the conversations that inspired me. And I realized that I could carry these memories without being stuck in the past. I could honor the part of me that admired them without letting their stagnation dim my own light. And so I sit with this now. The awareness, this strange combination of nostalgia, grief, and reflection. And maybe that's what it means to witness someone else's stagnation. It's not about anger. It's not about judgment. It's about sitting in the shadow, acknowledging it, letting it whisper its lessons to you. Because the lesson is this: we can't force anyone to evolve. We can't drag someone into growth. What we can do, though, is notice, reflect, and move forward with our own lives. The Facebook post, the snapshot in time, the realization that someone has stayed the same while we've moved forward. It's all a part of the story that we're writing for ourselves. And in that, there's something beautiful. Even in the sting, there's growth. And it belongs to us. Now, here's what I've realized. When we witness someone else's stagnation, it's actually a quiet invitation to turn our gaze inward, to ask the questions we might not have had the courage or time to ask before. Where was I 5 years ago, really? What patterns have I broken? What fears have I faced? What lessons have etched themselves into the very marrow of who I am today? Take a moment to feel that. Let yourself trace the path from then to now, and notice how far you've traveled. Even if it was slow, even if it was messy, because growth is rarely tidy. It doesn't happen all at once, and it isn't always visible. Sometimes it's the small, almost imperceptible shifts. The way you respond differently to conflict, the way you choose your words more carefully, the way you hold your boundaries without apology. That mark the true progress. Growth is intensely personal. It can't be forced onto anyone else. Just as the moon moves through its phases, regardless of whether we notice, our evolution continues, even if others refuse to step into their own shadows. And here's the delicate truth. Recognizing that someone hasn't changed doesn't mean we have to abandon them. But it does remind us that our energy is precious. Every glance, every word, every minute spent circling someone else's inertia is a moment that we could have used to nurture our own light. Sometimes the most radical act of love or self-preservation is to care for someone from a distance, to honor them without letting their stuckness drag you down, to witness their choices or lack thereof without letting it dim the glow of your own transformation. There's power in that choice. There's liberation in knowing that your growth doesn't require their participation. And there's a strange, quiet magic in realizing that walking forward, even alone, is always worth it. Because here's the secret that the shadows whisper. Evolving isn't about leaving others behind. It isn't about resentment or judgment. It's about choosing yourself, your path, your light, and letting the rest be exactly what it is: a mirror, a lesson, a shadow, but never a chain. And when you truly feel that, even the people who haven't moved, even the ones still walking in yesterday's footprints, they stop pulling you at your energy. They become part of the scenery, a reminder of the distance you've traveled, rather than a weight on your wings. So lean into that realization. Sit with it. Let it wash over you. Recognize your power, your resilience, your commitment to your own evolution. Because at the end of the day, your growth is yours to claim, fully and unapologetically. And no one can take that away from you. Not their stagnation, not their choices, not their opinions. Your light is yours, and it shines brightest when you walk forward in your own rhythm, with your own heart leading the way. Okay, now let's get practical, because feeling, reflecting, noticing, that's all important. But at some point, we need to take action. And by action, I don't mean changing anyone else. I mean protecting, honoring, and nurturing your own growth. If you notice someone stagnating in your life, here's what I found to be useful. First of all, protect your energy. This is the big one. Your time, your focus, your mental space. They're not infinite. Set boundaries without guilt. Maybe it's as simple as muting their posts on social media, limiting the conversations that leave you drained, or saying no to invitations that feel heavy rather than joyful. Boundaries aren't walls, they're shields. They're a way to preserve your own light while the other person navigates their shadows. Reflect, don't rant. This is the hardest for me because, trust me, I know the temptation to vent, complain, or analyze their choices endlessly. But journaling, meditating, or simply talking it out with a trusted friend, someone who could witness without judgment, can be far more productive. Ask yourself, why does this affect me so strongly? What does it reveal about my own fears or triggers? What lessons can I take from this? The stagnation you notice in them can be a mirror, a tool, a shadow to explore, not a trap to fall into. Celebrate your own growth. Even small steps count. Did you stand up for yourself today when you before might have just stayed silent? Did you choose patience over anger or curiosity over judgment? Did you notice a pattern breaking in yourself? Give yourself credit. Growth isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle, quiet, almost invisible, but it matters more than you realize. Keep walking your path. Your journey isn't defined by anyone else's pace. You're the only one responsible for your evolution. Their choices don't control your light. Every time you pick yourself up, move forward, make a conscious choice, or embrace discomfort for growth, you're winning. You're claiming your space, your power, your path. Remember, there's also freedom in loving from a distance. You can care about someone, wish them well, and still keep your energy protected. You can honor the connection without being dragged into their inertia. Sometimes that quiet acceptance is the most compassionate act of all for both you and them. So lean into your power, embrace your pace, and remember, no one else's stuckness diminishes your evolution. Not their words, not their actions, not their refusal to step into their own shadows. Your light is yours, and it grows brighter the more you claim it. And that's where I'll leave you today, loves. Remember, your growth is yours to claim. Protect your energy, reflect on your shadows, celebrate every step forward, and keep walking your path. The light you nurture in yourself is contagious, whether anyone else chooses to step into it or not. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love to connect further. You can support me and the show on Ko-fi at ko-fi.com/shadow and sass, or send me an email directly at shadowandsass@gmail.com. I read every single message, and it always makes my day. And of course, if you enjoyed the conversation, please consider sharing it with a friend, giving it a like, and subscribing so that you don't miss future episodes. Every little bit helps me keep creating and diving deep into these shadowy, messy, beautiful parts of life right alongside of you. Thank you for showing up for yourself, for your growth, and for this little community we're building together. Until next time, keep walking your path and let your light shine, even when the world around you feels stuck.